In a previous video, I shared two scientific miracles that act as objective proof that the Quran is the word of God, that Islam is the final religion. In this video, I'm going to share another five. But the reason why we call them scientific miracles is because there's absolutely no way that any human 1400 years ago could have known the things that I'm about to share without it being revealed to them by God. In the Quran, Allah tells us that clouds aren't actually light, they're heavy, and He uses them to transport rain to barren land. Imagine making that claim 1400 years ago, that we're meant to look up to the sky and believe that clouds are actually heavy. I know that most people, even today, believe that clouds are weightless, right? They look fluffy and light. But it's modern science that affirmed that clouds can contain up to 300 tons of water, which is equivalent in weight to 150 cars stacked on top of each other, or 60 elephants, adult elephants. That's science catching up to what God already told us. In the Quran, Allah tells us that He created the sun as a glowing star and the moon a reflective light, meaning the sun emits light. The sun is like a candle. It's a source of light, but the moon is like a mirror. It reflects light. 1400 years ago, Arabs in the desert would not be able to make that distinction because it's so specific. And when you look at the moon at night, it looks like a candle. But it's science that confirms this when they realize that the moon has stages, because the moon rotates around the earth. And as it rotates, the sun reflects on it from different angles. That's why we have the new moon versus a full moon versus a quarter moon. But Allah already told us this in the Quran. Number 3, Allah tells us that the sky is a well-guarded canopy, which means like a protective covering, meaning the sky protects the earth. 1400 years ago, and even today, when we look at the sky, the first word that comes to our mind is not protection. It's endless. We think vast. We think beautiful. But it's modern science that confirmed that the atmosphere actually protects the earth from meteors, from harmful rays from the sun, from the freezing, frigid temperature of space, because it takes the heat from the sun and it distributes it evenly. The sky literally protects the earth. And that's science again catching up to what God already told us. In the Quran, Allah tells us that He created everything in pairs, from positive and negative electrons, from X and Y chromosomes, male and female animals, women and men. But that also includes plants and fruits. It's modern biologists that discovered that there's actually femininity and masculinity in plants, and they have unique reproductive organs that allow for pollination, which is the process of pollen transferring from the male plant to the female plant. There was no biology 1400 years ago. That wasn't a branch of science. But Allah doesn't need biology. Allah created biology. We as humans are limited in our knowledge, but Allah is all-knowing. The last one is Allah tells us that when two seas, for example, fresh water and salt water, when they meet, there's a barrier that divides them. And that barrier, that division, actually allows those two seas to maintain their properties. And that does two things. One, it allows us to have access to fresh water without it being contaminated by salt water. But two, there's certain creatures that need certain types of water to live. And that's what scientists discovered, because they were skeptical about this. But even today, we can actually see that barrier. I remember the first time I saw it, I was so confused. But that's science catching up to what God already told us. The reason why the Muslim faith is so strong and so unwavering is because it's backed by so much tangible and objective evidence and proof that every single thing that we're reading, our belief in the fact that it's from God, cannot be shaken. Cannot be shaken. And that's why Allah tells us that it's not the eyes that are blind, but the hearts that are in their chests. Because the proof is so clear That it's not that we don't understand that it's the truth. It's that our hearts are preventing us from wanting to believe that it's the truth. But Allah guides whom He wills. Because Allah knows what's in our hearts. He knows if we genuinely and sincerely want to know God, want to know Allah, if we genuinely want to build that relationship with Him, Allah knows.